Hey everyone, welcome back to the Exhaust Tones. I am back here at the house and the garage, and I've still been in the middle of a remodel. We actually are starting to paint the exterior today. I had guys doing that. The interior is all but done. So that's kind of why I haven't been able to upload any videos lately. I am working on getting this place done, and I think I actually may sell the house just because right now the market is insane. I can't believe where prices are, and I just don't think it is financially a good idea just to keep the house, just because I do like the garage. There's a two-car garage, and I do like the long driveway. As you can see, we've got 3 cars and a trailer on there, and there's room for probably another 8 to 10 cars at least. That's a nice thing, but the money that I can get out of this will be a lot, and as well as my other place, it will allow me to not have to stress about anything really, and I can do full-time just work on cars and make videos and travel and do what I would like. But I figured I would make a video today just to give an update, because it has been over a month since my last one. Way too long. I don't want to go this long, but again, this is a lot of work trying to find parts and things that are needed for the house, making decisions, picking colors out, which is not easy, and all of that. So I figured I would give a quick update and kind of just do a quick video on the plans for the 335D. So obviously, my last video was about the Beamer Tech stereo system that is going to be going into that. We're going to do a video on that. I talked to my friend, and I might drive out to his house and do it at his house, because it's harder for him to get up here. He doesn't have as much free time as I do. And when I do have the free time, I'm just going to drive out there, and we'll do a video install on that, and kind of show everyone that and give my thoughts, of course. But I figured I would go over the rest of the plans because, well, as you can see here, I've got a lot of stuff. By the way, never ever put stuff on cars. This is just what my last resort was, because I had no room anywhere, and I just had to stack stuff on cars. Normally I would never do this to my paint, but I do have both these cars fully protected, so I'm hoping there won't be too much problems with this. I'll have to probably do some detailing after. But I figured I would show you everything that we have, or just kind of go over it. I'm not going to do unboxings, and I'm not even going to dig out the boxes, because as you can see, I have no way really to even get in here. I will say this box here, those there, and those two there are indeed Quickjacks. I bought their I think they're their 7,000 model, which will lift up to 7,000 pounds, mainly because of the Cayenne being a fat pig. I wanted to make sure we were able to lift that, as well as trucks and that. These are actually extension rails for it, so I just got the regular ones. I didn't get the extended because I'm mostly going to be doing cars, so I want them to be small enough to fit on cars, but I got the extension rails in case we did want to do some trucks. Or if it was a bigger SUV, I think the regular ones might be fine for the Porsche, but maybe bigger SUVs might need the extension rails. So I did get that. So we are ready to work on cars. We just need the place, which this is not it right now. If it doesn't sell, no big deal. I'll live here. I have no problems with that. But we're going to see if it sells. If it does sell, I will probably get another place in the same neighborhood, and I'm definitely going to make sure I get a 2-car garage, and going to try my best to get one that I can put a AC unit in somehow. Hopefully they have a window in the garage, and I could just stick another window unit in, and we'll AC the garage, and we'll work as we were before. So that is the plans for that. As far as the 335D, we have a full build going to go on here. And when I say full build, I mean we're going to bolt on pretty much everything you can to this car, short of a bigger turbo, which that may come down the road. When these turbos fail, I will probably go to that. But right now, we're just going to go with the factory ones for now, with everything bolted onto them. So to kind of go over the 335D, because I've never really done a video on this, and why I purchased this car, because I bought it about 10 months ago, actually. I bought it because, one, every car I have has horrible gas mileage. Every other car that you've seen, the best one gets maybe 17 miles a gallon, if you're lucky, like 16 probably. That would be the Volvo. Although the Porsche 944 Turbo, when fixed and running right, I was getting about 22, 24 driving around town. So that one actually is pretty efficient, but I wouldn't want to drive it daily anyway. Even if everything was fixed on it, everything worked perfect, I still wouldn't want to put the miles on the car. But so exempting that one, the Corvette got like 14-ish. The AMG was 13-ish. The Pig was about 9 to 11, just depending on if I got on the freeway a little bit, I can get to 11. And the Volvo, again, is probably about 16 from when I was driving that full time. And every one of these cars takes premium fuel. So with gas prices spiraling out of control, up over $4, especially for premium, I just could not justify driving them, especially going back and forth and just around the neighborhood. I don't do a lot of freeway driving, so it starts costing a lot of money when you're filling up for $75 a fill up, and you're only getting a couple hundred miles on that. So I decided to go diesel because of this car here. Now people say, I don't get it. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. Most people don't know what a 335D is. Everybody that's seen it doesn't even know. They think it's just like a 335i or just a different version of it, or they don't know. Total different engine, as far as, it's similar, but not. So they're both 3.0 straight inline sixes. I guess I'll give you some stats on them. The factory 335i is about 300 horsepower, 300 foot-pounds of torque, roughly, give or take, depending on the model. And I think the IS has a couple more horsepower and torque, but it's about the same. This has 265 horsepower, so it's down 35 horsepower on the petrol version, but it has 425 foot-pounds of torque, so it's up over 125 foot-pounds of torque over the factory 335i. So you can see that's a huge difference. I mean, to put it in perspective, since I know everybody thinks, okay, well, like, sounds like a lot, but is it? Yeah, it kind of is. If you compare it, this car in 2011 had more torque than a base Corvette, or even a Grand Sport Corvette. Basically anything except a ZR1 or Z06 Corvette. This had as much or more torque than those had. So that is a lot. It's a huge number when you think about it, and when you put it in perspective like that. Now, obviously, it's not as fast as the Corvette in 2011. Obviously, a base or Grand Sport Corvette would just blow it away, straight line acceleration and on a track. But it's still a respectable number. In comparison to the 335i, it's a huge difference. However, that doesn't mean it was faster. They were actually pretty close to the same. So a factory 335i would run 0 to 60. I've seen some things say 4.8 to 60 at best, but we'll call it 5 was probably more reasonable, or more likely that you would get is 5.0 to 60, up to roughly 5.5 to 60. This car was what they said from the factory, 5.6 to 5.8 to 60. So still pretty darn quick considering it's a diesel. And then quarter mile, the 335i I've seen as low as 13.4. Probably, again, not realistic, more likely 13.6 to about 14 flat would be what a 335i, depending on manual or automatic. These are all automatics, unfortunately. So for this, quarter mile was roughly 14 flat to 14.2 was what it was tested at. I personally have tested this car, although I do have the Berger Motorsports piggyback on it, which adds, I would say, probably 40 horsepower, being reasonable, roughly. I have managed a 5.5, roughly, I think it was 5.5, 5.6 to 60, and I managed a factory without it, I managed a 14.2 at 98, and with it, I managed a 13.8 at 102. So it sounds about 40 horsepower to me. It's bad. It took 4/10 off, added 4 miles an hour. That's gonna guess about 40-50 horsepower is what it added. But what we can do to it is all in this garage. Every bolt-on pretty much possible for this car. And let's just kind of go through it. I'll point out what we've got here since I don't want to dig it out. We'll start back here with that big box, square looking on the side, almost touching the 944. That is actually not going to help too much with much, although it will help with aerodynamics because it is an underbody tray. It's an aluminum one, and the reason it'll help is because mine, or the factory one, is sitting right there. We had a bad storm about 8 months ago, and the street just over here that I had to come down was full of water, and I didn't know until I got in the water, and I was fording about 6-8 inches of water, and I didn't realize there were a bunch of fist-size rocks floating in the water or under the water that were getting kicked up and destroying my underbody, and it ripped basically most of it off, as you can see. And without it, it seemed like my gas mileage went down a little bit, especially the more I used the freeway, because I would guess the underbody it's not flat anymore. It's not running air out of it, just straight to the back. It's kicking up into the engine bay. So it may help a little bit, but I mostly wanted to get it for protection. Sorry, I'll get my thing a little further back. I wanted to get it for protection, and it does actually have it's a Whitbread Performance underbody tray. It has a kind of like a duct that points back towards the back of the car. I would assume one, because you got air flowing through the front vents into the engine bay, and then it will kind of suck through and out that, which will help extract some hot air from the engine bay. And also, I mean, that probably provides a small, tiny, insignificant amount of downforce, but nonetheless should help with aerodynamics. So that's what that is. Then there's the 3 boxes right next to it. The biggest one on the bottom is the largest largest aftermarket intercooler that they make currently for the 335D. It is a Wagner intercooler, and it is the Evo, or Competition Evo 3 intercooler. They make a Comp 1, 2, that's the 3. From what I remember on the site, if I'm quoting it correctly, I think it flows 150% more air than the factory intercooler, which is really good. Most aftermarket intercoolers that I was looking at was 75% more, so this is almost twice as much as what those flow over what the factory one does, so that's a huge difference. On top of that is an ATM intake, their enclosed intake. I don't think, from what I've heard, that it does much for these cars. For the diesel, for some reason, people just say they're more for looks and for sound than performance, but I think with all the other stuff we have going on, it may help at least a little bit. And I did get the enclosed one because I didn't want the hot air in there, although I've heard it doesn't enclose perfectly, so I may have to put some weather stripping around it or something to kind of seal it as best as possible. On top of that is the smallest box, and that is the ATM 3.5 to 3 inch downpipe, no filters on it, so basically straight pipe, and that will replace the factory one. And then to go after that is this, which is the full P&L downpipe back, straight exhaust, no mufflers, no filters, no nothing, 3 inches all the way back. So that will be probably louder, hopefully, although it's a diesel, so they really don't get very loud or sound like much, other than maybe it'll sound more like a 18-wheeler is probably all it's going to sound like, but still, nonetheless, hopefully it'll sound at least like something, and will help with performance when combined. In addition to that, I have this Turner Motorsports Box, which contains a Cowl Delete The Cowl Delete helps with, it just basically removes some weight under the hood. I've heard some bad things about it, like if you're running it during the summer, it can heat up because it eliminates the cowl, so instead of drawing air from outside, it kind of just draws it from the engine bay, and the AC may not work as well. We'll find that out. What else am I missing? Oh, all the way back there, straight in the back, those tires there are mounted on a set of OZ Racing. I believe those are the Allegoritas, if I remember what the name was. Much lighter weight than the factory, as are the tires, are lighter weight than the tires that are on there right now. I know that sounds weird. How are they lighter weight? Their tires are the same. They are the same size, exactly the same size. However, those are run flats on there, and I'm going non-run flats because I'll still have tires as backup if I need to throw another tire on there. I can throw the old wheel and tire on there, and I will be able to get to where I need to go because this does not have a spare tire. In addition to all of that, I have a Swirl flap delete kit. Somewhere in here there's a box with an EGR race pipe, which will delete the EGR as well as the EGR cooler. What else are we missing here? I have swirl pipe deletes. Oh, and then in the Turner Motorsports box and over here, I have a kind of a tune-up. I'm putting a new glow plug controller on there and a new set of glow plugs so that we will give it a kind of freshening. And with that freshening, I have in here a blaster, and I do have walnut here. It broke on the way, so the bag broke, so I had to put the walnut in here so that I can walnut blast the intake and then the valve ports. We're going to try it anyway. We're going to see how hard it is. I don't know, but I have all the attachments and everything I should need, so we'll see how it goes. Oh, and then the final piece here, as you see, is carbon fiber. That is a carbon fiber trunk lid, which I was going to get a wing for the back, but one of the Turner Motorsports wing I was looking at was roughly $400 and some dollars, if I remember right. I don't remember. It was right about $400, and this trunk lid was only like $590. So I thought, well, should I put like a pound on the back of the car, or should I remove some weight? Which this is the CSL style trunk lid, so it kind of hoops up a little anyway, so it does look bigger on there. And I do think it'll look really good on this silver car, and surprisingly, I can lift that like one-handed just like this. It's so light. I mean, they said it's supposed to weigh like 15 pounds maybe or something like that. It feels like it weighs like 3 pounds. It literally is so light. I'm going to be shocked if it isn't 15, 20 pounds lighter than the factory one. But that is what we have here, and then I think either underneath it or at home I have the Malone 2.9 tune is what I have, is going to be the tune that we're putting on there. So what does that all add up to? Well, let's go over it. We had 265 horsepower and 425 rated from the factory. What I understand, most dynos on these come in about 240 at the wheels and about 375-ish, give or take, 10-15 horsepower at the wheels, so 375 foot-pounds of torque at the wheels. I will try to get to a dyno. I have a friend whose friend opened a dyno not long ago, and I might see if we can get in there and get some video and do a baseline test on this. I'll probably try to disconnect the Burger tune and then do it on and off just to see what it does. But all of this, all the performance parts added on there, are supposed to take the car up to approximately 375 horsepower at the wheels, and well, give or take, again, 375 to 400, and between 550 and 600 foot-pounds of torque at the wheels. So that is quite a difference. It's, you know, more than 50. You're adding more than 50% on there of horsepower and close to 50% torque increase. And then as far as all the other stuff, the lightning stuff on there, you know, a lot of people say, well, it's a 3 Series, it's a 38 3,800 pound car. What's the point? You know, it's not meant to be lightweight. True. But most of this, like this, a lot of the weight savings is coming from the exhaust. And then I started thinking, well, if we're lightening up a few things here, the wheels, eventually they make, there's actually factory BMW brakes that were on the Z4 that for the front that are a few pounds lighter each, as well as there's aftermarket ones that are even more if you want to pay more. So I haven't decided on that yet. When I do need brakes, I am going to do that. Obviously the unsprung weight will help more than other things, but all of the weight that I have, weight reduction I have in here, is nearly 200 pounds lighter, which is huge. That's me, basically. I'm actually a little just over 200 pounds, so it's basically like the difference between having me in the car and not having me in the car. I think that's a big difference, especially since, again, like just the wheels and the exhaust are like 120 pounds of that, so that's a huge difference. I think performance wise it's going to be a huge difference from what I've heard. So numbers wise on that, I can't truly say what it's going to be. I can't say it's going to be X until we go test it. But from what I've heard, these cars, once they are you know, basically I guess you would call it BPU'd or full bolt-on, will run in the low 12s, so roughly 12.2-ish, maybe 12.2 to 12.4, and about 112 to 115 miles an hour. So, and plus those are, a lot of those don't do any of the weight reduction. They do, obviously the exhaust helps a lot, but they're not doing the wheels, the trunk lid, the other various parts that'll add up hopefully to a little bit better. So hopefully we'll be able to click off maybe a 12 flat at 115, 116. And again, doesn't sound that fast, but it's a huge difference from stock. And for a BMW that is running on diesel, it's really quick. The other thing it does is this car, from the factory, it was rated at, if I remember correctly, it's 24 or 25 miles to the gallon in town, and on highway driving, it's like 36 maybe. I don't remember my exact numbers. I should, but I don't. I know what I do. So right now, I did a lot of freeway driving on this tank, and I'm getting about 25. Normally, I get about 22, 23, but I do drive mostly in town, and I do get on it quite a bit, so that affects it. I did, when I first got it, take it on a 50-mile loop, and I managed to get 38 miles the gallon out of it. And that was straight highway. I literally was 1 mile from the freeway, drove right over to it, got on it, drove 50 miles. I only got off once to turn around and came back, and 38 miles a gallon. They say the putting all these performance parts on there will increase the gas mileage up to about 8 miles a gallon, roughly. So we could be looking at a 45 mile a gallon car on the freeway that runs 12s, and in the city I could be up over 30 miles a gallon average, which obviously newer cars, there are some newer ones that do phenomenal gas mileage and are fairly quick, but you know, this is a more than 10-year-old car now, and we're managing for under, well, you can find them for under 10 grand, but for under 10 grand you can get that and do about $10,000 of upgrades, maybe about 8, really 6 to 8, and you can get a car that's really quick, really nice to drive. I do love driving it. It's very fun to drive. It is a sporty car to drive. It's a lot sportier than, say, like the AMG, the W210 was. That wasn't very, it didn't have that sport feel. It was very lumbering, and you could feel like when you switch lanes, you could feel it. This feels very light on its feet, and I think 200 pounds lighter, it's going to feel even better. So that is all of what we have here. That was kind of what we were waiting on. That's what the boxes were. They were kind of stacking up, and now they are all here. It's just a matter of getting the time to actually do the the mods, which that's part of the problem. I think what I'm going to do, like I said, is contact my friend when he's got the free time and I do. I'm going to drive out to him. He's about 30 miles away, 25-ish. And we will do this in segments. We'll video it. So one day we'll probably put this, the trunk lid on. We'll swap them out. That shouldn't take hopefully too long, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours max. If there's issues, might even be on in half hour for all I know. I don't know how hard it is. I've never done one. I'll go out there. We'll put the stereo in. One day, the real problem here is I'd like to just put the back half of the exhaust on, because I think that would be pretty easy. All we got to do is get under the car and bolt the old exhaust out, drop it to the ground, and put this together and screw it together, tighten it, and put it on, because we don't need to put on the downpipe. So I'd like to do that, but I have to get somewhere where I can use the Quickjacks and set them up and use them. But if we can, we'll do that. If we get the Quickjacks up, we can also just throw the wheels on really quickly as well. That can be another video. I'd like to see what it does before and after, how it feels. The biggest project is going to be the downpipe, or EGR, the walnut blasting. All that has to be done at once, the intercooler, because when we do all of that, it's all at the front of the motor, and even the intake, it needs a tune to do any of that. So the tune really has to go on to do the intake, to do any of those three items there. It needs, unfortunately, to be tuned right after. So when we do all of that, it's going to be all at once, and the car will probably be down for, my guess is, a week, because it'll take us a few days. And it is what it is, but I don't have time to do that right now, but maybe we will. We'll just see. We'll have to see how it goes, but hopefully in the next 2 weeks, I'm hoping it won't be 2 weeks before my next upload, because I hope to be able to do the one of these things, either the trunk lid or the stereo install. So that way we can at least get something done, because I want to kind of get moving on the car, because I want it upgraded. I mean, obviously the stereo was in performance, but had like a little bit better sound in it as well. But that's where we're at with that. I mean, I think it's going to be a fun build. It's definitely, it's unique for the typical car channel rebuilds, at least the ones I watch. I know I've seen some that have done that in the USA, but not many. There aren't a ton of these that are done in the USA. There's a handful. I mean, probably more than I know. I'm sure there's, hundreds, but when you consider hundreds across this country, that's nothing. I mean, think about how many Corvette builds there are, or GTR builds. There's tons of them online. You can just turn on anybody's channel and they pretty much have those. Not anybody's, but, a lot of them have those. So it's kind of a unique build, and I'm excited for it. I really want to see how this transforms the car, and hopefully you're excited to come along and watch. I know there's not a lot of views yet, but again, this is only my third video. I don't have production quality yet. I'm doing live one takes, not really live, because it won't let me upload live videos quite yet, but I'm doing these as one takes, and it is live. I'm just telling you what I'm doing, and then I go ahead and put it on the internet, and that's it. Once we get to installs, I think we're going to start using my other camera that I have, and we'll start actually videoing segments and cutting things in. But that's all something I have to learn, so I've been doing it this way because I don't have to do anything but just kind of make the video. So that is it for today. It has been a long video. It's 30 minutes. And I don't want to go any longer. I just figured I would point everything out, tell you what it does, give you an idea of where we're going with this, and hopefully we'll have more videos coming shortly with all the mods, and you'll be watching. So if you enjoy the videos, please like, share, subscribe, and then we will catch you on the next video, which will hopefully be an install video. Thanks for watching.